Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Gemini December 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant. And I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for Geminis over FaceTime and Skype from different parts of the world over the course of the last month. And if you might be interested to just see what's involved, check out the information that's in the link below. But now we're going to take 5 cards from a deck called the Thoth deck. Now, I've found that a lot of people are frightened to use the Thoth deck for some reason. It does have a lot of esoteric imagery in it, which is probably unknown, reasonably enough, to most people. Esoteric means basically hidden or occult, and the occult meanings of what is in this deck I will share with you now, so it will no longer be secret, at least with respect to the 5 cards that we take. It was painted by a woman, there's the Fool, it was painted by a woman called Frida Harris in the early 1900s, off the back of instructions from a guy called Aleister Crowley, whose works you really do need to read if you want to try and make sense of the deck. But I have to tell you that really the sense of the deck that you get from Crowley's work is very poor. I don't agree with most of what he says. But there is, as I say, a lot of esoteric imagery in here, and full credit to the artist, the Lady Frida Harris. She's called Lady Harris because her husband was a politician, and he was elevated in Britain to the House of Lords, and so he became Lord Harris, and she became Lady Harris. That was the Prince of Wands. Did I mention that? You got some good cards coming up here. What's this one? There's the Hermit. Let's grab something from down here somewhere. And it is this one, which is the 5 of Swords. Right. Why don't we come together? Make yourself comfortable. We'll have a good close look at the symbolical imagery on these cards together while I do the reading for you. Okay, I think you can see those. Now, this energy here is being pushed away. I don't normally, well, in fact, I don't at all like to see titles on cards, and I don't agree with them. This is said to be defeat, but I think rather it is more to do with a reticence, a fear, a holding back with you here. Now, to look at the symbology, we have here, you may see the glyph of Venus in Aquarius there. What we can also see is, looking at the symbology, is that we have there and some swords. This sword here is being attacked by these 4 bending swords here. There's a blue border around the card itself, which shows creativity being pushed away by these almost swastika shapes that are there. But nevertheless, there is light within it here in the center, which speaks of your spirituality beginning to assert itself against what may be thought to be fear. There is rose petals which form a sort of inverted pentagram, and the hilts of the swords have various things on them. There's a crown, what's that look like? Snakes, fish, handkerchief, and a ram's head. Now, what can I take from that? As I say, it is the planet of Venus ruling, I think, the first decan of Aquarius, that 22nd to the 29th of January. Look, Venus rules Taurus, doesn't it? Which is an earth sign. But here we have Venus ruling an air sign in this card, according to the developer. Well, Venus and Aquarius, they are at odds with one another. They don't necessarily gel, because Venus is about relationships, beauty, harmony, and love. It's not at all about fighting, whereas Aquarius is a rebel ruled by Uranus. And Aquarius is a fighter, usually for causes, so the individualistic, dispassionate nature of Aquarius clashes with Venus, which is the planet of relationship. Now, because there is a 5 here as well, I have a mystical association with the planet of Mars, and Venus is also weakened by the fiery, dispassionate nature of Mars. Now, the 5 swords are, and again, just to have a quicker look at them again, the 5 swords are arranged in a pentacle which points downward. Equilibrium is lost. The pentagram standing on its head is outlined by, well, what you might say, rose petals or possibly drops of blood. Old wounds have been touched, I think, during this period for you, and, in a sense, bleed anew. The swords are curved, they are injured, they are out of harmony, and each sword's grip indicates a different aspect of the situation. Now, I spoke of the fish, which is up here. That represents the past. The sleeping snake shows that no renewal is happening at the moment, but this is changing for you through the course of the month. The downward pointing sword crown symbolizes lost awareness, and the ram's head, which is on that one there, that shows that new impulses are lacking and that nothing will be set in motion. And the seashell itself, I suppose, that indicates that that things need protection, is what I say. You need protection. Now, look, I think it's a fear of defeat that dominates at the moment. It may be connected with relationships, or more generally, with the beginning of something which is of great importance to you. You're worried about it. You have an apprehension about it. Maybe it is the fear of losing control, of experiencing the feeling that everything is slipping out of your hands. With the sign of Aquarius, well, Aquarius is directed towards the future. Now, the challenge for you is to make room for your own objectivity and clarity, which I think is also symbolized by this blue border here, despite any fear of things not turning out. And the white, also in the center of the painting, represents the bright spirit breaking through the power of this fear. Do you know, there is an angel associated with this card, and his name substitutes for the word of Lord in Psalm 119, verse 159, which says, "See that I have loved your precepts, O Lord, preserve me as benefits your steadfast love." Now, I'm not selling religion at all, but meditating on that verse, Psalm 119, chapter 119, verse 159, it will bring a desire to lovingly, selflessly, and respectfully show and share your wisdom with children and those younger than you. The preacher in you will be silenced, and the teacher in you will be awakened and shine in all of your actions. Do you know, I think you having drawn this card shows that you are now ready to see your fear. Fear is irrational in nature, meaning it doesn't necessarily reflect the real situation. By recognizing this, you will set free all those energies which have been bound up in the pentagram here, and you will, if you are afraid to see control slipping out of your hands, remember the feeling that you are in control is just an illusion anyway. Seeing, understanding, and accepting and letting go of your fear will set you free. Now, you might ask yourself this question: what do you associate with the idea of defeat? Write down the answer and share the answer with someone you trust. If old wounds are revealed, Allow yourself to feel the pain, because this really is the only way to heal them. But say this to yourself at this time: I accept my fear and let it go. I am not my fears. It is safe for me to live without guarding and defending myself all the time. When I feel afraid, I open my heart and let love dissolve the fear. Now you might take some time out and just reflect upon the thoughts that are going on in your head. Remember, this card is Swords, which is about the mental realm. It's about thoughts. It's not about reality. But let's have a look to see what the Hermit might bring here. Well, the Hermit implies solitude and independence. The wisdom which is imparted through the connection with your higher self happens silently in this energy and not outwardly. Now the wheat, which is in the background here, you can see the wheat going everywhere. That links it in with agriculture, with Virgo, with Persephone, the growth of wheat, the growth of inner wisdom. So you are surrounded by the wisdom of your insights gained by inner contemplation. Now the head of the Hermit is that of an ibis. Well, the ibis was associated with Thoth in ancient times, in ancient Egyptian times, and Thoth was, as I think I may have mentioned in the introduction, the Egyptian god of wisdom and also that of the written word. The diamond lantern, this is a symbol of spirit coming into your life at this time, of the divine coming into you. This is a great center of Christ consciousness, of Vishnu consciousness, of Krishna consciousness. This is where the Christ or Vishnu or Krishna, being the word of God, is manifested from. Now the sun, well, the sun is, which we see here, I think that is also a lantern here which covers the genitals, actually in the same way as it happens up in this Fool card, I'll see, and we'll probably get to that in just a moment. And he uses the light of spirit in a creative way to learn more about himself and his place in the world. Now, there are a number of yellow rays which are going from the lantern here. One of them energizes this sperm in the left-hand corner. One of them goes down on this three-headed dog, Cerberus, and another one strikes up to the actual pyramid of the apex of the pyramid, rather. Another one over here goes over to the Orphic egg, a fertilized egg with all the potential of life inside you, and thus you have a complete cycle. The sperm actually is almost really like the wand of the Hermit, isn't it, if you look at it that way? Now, what other imagery? Well, there's a fetus which is in the sperm. In the olden times, people used to think that completed human beings were actually contained in sperm, and there is a diamond within the period here, within the lantern itself, and that's also talking about spirit and purity. Now, the three-headed dog is interesting. There's one looking back, which relates to action. There's a dog looking forward with its mouth open, which relates to speech. And there's one looking here, which is about thought. And thought is above action and speech. Now, the Orphic egg is a symbol of the manifested universe, but in this case is the subjective universe within yourself. And the Hermit is looking straight into it to learn more about himself. The egg is green, the color of Venus. Now, the pyramid at the top here, that stands for the phallus, and each corner is energized by the rays of the lantern, indicating the energization of the phallus from the creative potential of the sun. So the Hermit has really, in a sense, set out in search of internal fulfillment and has found the light within. He is so fulfilled by the wealth of the inner realm that the external world appears colorless and unimportant. Now, when you look into yourself, you have come home. They who look out dream. They who look within awaken. Now, there's no reason to chase after the deceptive light of that which is external and changes. However, the journey inward also has its difficult and troublesome aspects. You need courage and trust in yourself in order to embark on this journey. For before you reach the sought-for light, you are led through the apparently danger-filled realms of your own shadow. Now, these are represented, I suppose, also by this three-headed hound Cerberus. Now, this card, I think, admonishes you to heed your inner wisdom and gather together with other people who will be supportive on your shared path. The goal of this path is to find the inner voice and learn to listen to it, discover your inner guide, and to become well acquainted with your inner healing. I think you could become aware of something that you were previously in the dark about. Yeah, it's as if a secret is going to be unveiled to you, or you are going to uncover something, but you will spend some alone time and accept your alone time. Don't concern yourself with people who don't understand you, who would rather see you as being part of the herd. If you should meet a wise leader or teacher, then join them. Now, are there any unresolved situations or relationships in your life? This card, coming up later, is telling you to sort them out. Make a list of those situations that you now wish to resolve or in some way bring to completion. For whoever embarks on the search for internal light must not be encumbered by unresolved conflicts, and all accounts must be settled. But say this to yourself: I enjoy the feeling of rest, thinking, daydreaming, and of decision, and I will not compromise that which is important to me. I can enjoy my aloneness because I can stop being alone wherever and whenever I want. Now let's keep it moving along for you, shall we, and have a quick look at this central energy, you see, which is blasting these fears of defeat and worry away from you. And this is the Prince of Wands. Now, what's interesting here is that, look, he's got his eyes wide open. Do you see those pupils there? They're wide open. His crown has a winged lion's head, which speaks about Leo. His arm, well, looking at his armor, you'd expect him to have armor on, wouldn't you, if he's a warrior? But his arms are free of armor, and that allows for his active and creative nature. And being overly looking inside, so there's a time to move out of this. Overly looking inside is not in his nature. Now, on this seal on his breastplate there is the seven-pointed star of Babylon. Now, the phoenix in his right hand represents his power and creativity. It's used in rituals of magic, I suppose, is what you would say. Now, the reins are draped over his left hand. He's not holding on to them, and this allows free rein of creativity. The lion pulling the chariot is symbolic of the Leo influence of this card. Now, the qualities of Leo will be strong, and they're going to drive you forward during this time in your life. The qualities associated with Leo are being at the heart of things, confident and outgoing, being the center of attention. Leo also rules the heart, and Leos revel in drama and can create one whenever life becomes too dull. And you might wonder what this little splash of green is under here. Well, that's associated with creativity. And so where the chariot is led by the prince, he will lay the groundwork of creativity in his life. Now, not surprisingly, I think that Leo is going to be important to you during this period, but also Cancer could well be here. This is a young man, but court cards can be of either gender, that is swift and strong, impulsive. You could be impulsive, I think, but you'll nevertheless be just and noble, even though there is a sense of, I won't call it violence, but there could be a seething undercurrent to you. You will nevertheless be generous and with a sense of humor. This also talks about it being a time of blossoming love and intuitive creativity out of the darkness and into the light. Now, the prince here, as you will be doing, sits with his arms outspread as his fiery chariot moves forward swiftly. A few dark marks that are in the background there, they hint at the darkness which you are now leaving behind. The general impression he makes, as you will do, is one of definiteness, openness, and freedom. He is, as I say, naked. The meaning doesn't need to be really strung out. It just means he doesn't need to hide or protect himself. And that phoenix scepter is, as I say, a symbol of power and energy. The Prince of Wands personifies the mastery of intuitive creativity. All senses are geared towards being used for creative purposes by you at this time. You will trust your intuition, and you may well surprise others with your original ideas and solution. Nothing can hinder or limit this creative flow. The blazing fire in the chariot is going to keep you in motion. Now this prince is perfectly ready to engage himself fully in facing life's tests and challenges, but his greatest lesson is that his strong will can only help him towards his goal when it is in harmony with the will of the whole. Now, you should take from all of this that you have all that you need. Don't let yourself be contained. Don't let yourself be slowed down. Life is prepared to receive you. Trust your boundless creative potential. Now, what challenges are present now in your life? I think it's clear that you're disposing of them. Spread your arms out wide and breathe deeply into your heart and say, I love life and life loves me. Now, I mentioned this card, so let's deal with it quickly, shall we? This is the what? Four of Wands. And as you can see, this developer has got Venus in Aries. You might ordinarily think that's a problem because Aries is ruled by Mars, and so you have Venus and Mars sitting together. What else is there? Well, there is a wheel with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 spokes. Actually, the number 8 has Hebrew letters which mean to will, to love, to bind. Now, there are wands with Aries heads here, which is talking about your willpower here. And the wands with the dove's head, they are speaking of harmony and the peace of Venus. And the circle itself means that work has been completed. The color green in the background has a mystical association with Venus for me. And the creative sun energy, which is contained in this golden colored wheel, that's suggesting that your energy will be used to bring about completion of projects. Now, what's important here is that the circle is full. All contradictions and opposites come together and connect at the center. The harmony between male and female, active and passive, such as the ram and the dove, it's returned. The fire of creativity is kindled by this occurrence. Now, Venus, the symbol of beauty and love, combines with Aries, the principle of new beginnings. And so your heart will push forth and seek the development of the beautiful in new directions. But before the new can arise, the old must be complete. The conflict between opposites must be resolved in a way which will further you on the way towards your highest goal. Tension in a relationship can work positively when the individuality of each partner is recognized and respected, and this makes it possible for you to support one another in moving forward. So something beautiful is making its way into your relationships. You may notice at first as established conditions are called into question and discussed openly. Clarifying the old, though, is a prerequisite for a new oneness, a new beginning. And say this to yourself, that completing the old frees me for the new. Now, I hope you'll have some time enough, because I'm concerned about your schedule here, is to get through the symbology of this very densely packed card. The green man is actually androgynous, giving neither male nor female. The mysterious energy giving birth to new life in the spring. New life represents being reborn in your spiritual path. Now he's leaping. This is a leap into the world, and he does so with enthusiasm. It's a yes to life, and it's the beginning of a connection to spirit for you, even though you might only kind of just have the intuition of it at this time. Now he has a diamond crown here, which also connects him to spirit and allows spirit to throw through you via your crown chakra. The rainbow that's around him at the back here. This is the colored universe of form arising out of the purity and formlessness of spirit itself. Now the background here is yellow with diamonds. Yellow is the color of air, and with the reflection of the white diamonds or of the spirit. And the fool's skin color is also yellow, representing air. His green clothing represents creativity. The gold shoes are of the sun and the creation of the of life itself. Then we have the sun over the genitals here, which talks about the creative potential of the genitals, where human consciousness usually resides. This needs to be raised to the purity of the diamond up in this crown chakra. And the three spirals around the Fool. Look, I'm not going to go into it other than to say they refer to things called Ein, Ein Sof, and Ein Sof Or, which are the three veils of negative existence. We don't have enough time to go into it here. But there is a dove here of spirit descending into matter. The vulture here represents, well, I suppose the Egyptian mother goddess Mut, meaning mother. Then there's the butterfly, which represents air, and the soul entering the body of the Fool as he takes up his spiritual quest. Now, this caduceus that he's holding here, that is a sword blade as a shaft, and both are symbols of the air because they're associated with Mercury. And then other things, most importantly, there's a whole lot of other things here. There's a sack of coins with astrological symbols on them. These things relate to purity. This crocodile talks about creation from nothing. This thing, though, is the important thing. This is the tiger of fear, and the Fool, as you will see, is completely oblivious to it. So you will have conquered your fears, as have been set out in this card here. As you can see, there's a time when it's necessary for you now to take a quantum leap forward. Everything stands in front of you now. You have unlimited potential to move things forward in a way which is good or bad, however you may choose. The point is that you have the wheel of fate firmly in your own hand. Destiny, that is, and you can bring it to bear. Well, what a very interesting set of cards for you. Well done, you. Well, I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is a very, very interesting deck, isn't it? The Thoth deck, and it provides an unusual sort of a reading, different to the types that you might see before. Certainly the imagery is unlike anything that you see in other decks. But anyway, next time, of course, we will be using another deck because I do change them each month, as you know. So until I see you again, remember one thing, and one thing is this, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.